Welcome back to Lone Wolf Kai Chronicles. We are on Book 9, The Cauldron of Fear, having just completed Book 8, so we go up a rank just for this one run. So we carry forward a bunch of kind of mismatched skills. I mean, they're not bad skills. I wouldn't have taken side screen normally, but I needed that specifically for Book 8's final boss. Take a broadsword, so we might as well take skill and broadsword. Lantern, elixir, quiver, fire seed. Pass. Alright. And we have pretty good combat skill. That's always important. 47 deaths already, yeah. To think, when I started this, which was not the recent start, but like a few years ago when I tried this again, my intention was to do the whole series without dying, because I didn't think it would be this hard. I thought it would be a bit more like a real RPG, like everything can be managed, or I didn't realize there were so many insta-death scenarios. So I got as far as Book 2, and I died in Book 2. I think I still have that stream recording somewhere, but on YouTube. But that was using the browser version. This version's way more fun to use. Well, this is the browser version as well, but this is like a proper JavaScript app, whereas the previous version was mostly lots of things you had to manage yourself. Alright. I'm gonna have to do shorter streams of these because it's quite punishing on my throat. Like, I don't exactly talk much day to day, so when I have to talk extensively for a whole stream like this, I'm gonna end up with laryngitis or something. Alright. You are the warrior, Lone Wolf, last of the Kai Masters of Summerland, and sole survivor of the massacre that destroyed your kinsmen during a bitter war with your age-old enemies, the Dark Lords of Helgadad. We can probably skip this first paragraph because that's just repeated the last few books. It's basically we're trying to find the 7 crystals of power to restore the Kai. And then it's just telling us what we did recently. Kazan Oud, yeah, blah blah blah. Yeah, we know this already. Alright, in Eldian, the capital of Desi, this is what happened very recently, so after the last book. In Eldian, the capital of Desi, you were tutored in the histories of Magnamund and received lessons in lore. Oh no, this happened before Book 8. Hang on, let's keep going. Ahead. Your guide, Lord Paido, bloody nuisance he was captured by Dark Lord agents. Alright, here's what's relevant. Several lands, after brief but futile resistance, had been overrun completely by Darkland armies. Others had surrendered without fighting in the face of their determined might, and sadly there were others who chose to betray former friends and allies by joining a Dark Lord cause, in the misguided hope that they would share in the spoils of victory, following the triumph of Dark Lord Gnag. Is it really misguided hope? I think they probably made the right decision. One such land was Vasagonia, a powerful desert realm to the north of Desi. Already her armies had invaded the neighboring territories of Kashion and Cloesia, were preparing to march through the Republic of Anari in order to join Gnag's horde now advancing across the plain of Slovia. The thought of such an eventuality filled the elder Magi with dread, for the Lawstone you must find next lies deep below the streets of Tahu, the capital of Anari, in an ancient city built during the dawn of Magnamund. If Tahu were to fall before your arrival, the chances of you completing your quest successfully would be slim indeed, even for a warrior of your renowned skill and daring. Great. I'm just getting a coffee. Whilst preparations were being made for your journey, you learned that the Dark Lords had attacked and captured Rannon, the southernmost province of your homeland of Summerland. The news of this calamity shook your resolve and filled you with the desire to forego the journey to Hu and return home without delay. The Elder Magi implored you not to abandon your quest, and you faced a difficult and crucial decision. Which should you honor, your vow to complete the Magna Kai quest or your oath of loyalty to your king? I mean, we're still keeping our oath of loyalty to the king by, like, saving the world. That's the point of doing the Magna Kai quest, so we can save the world, right? An oath which pledged your service in the defense of the Sun Realm. Stop making oaths to everyone. You're supposed to be a lone wolf. Fortunately, the surprise arrival of an old friend was to decide the matter for you. Mage Master Banadon, envoy of the Brotherhood of the Crystal Star, the Magician's Guild of Summerland, landed unexpectedly at Elzian aboard his flying ship Skyrider. He and his dwarven crew were warmly greeted, for Banadon, a frequent and favored visitor to Desi, was highly respected by the Elder Magi for his mastery of new magic. 6 years had passed since last you met, and there was much you wished to discuss and reminisce about, but there was an urgent matter of duty to perform first. Banadon had been sent by King Ulnar of Summerland to deliver into your hand a royal missive concerning your quest. The scroll, written and sealed by the king himself, ordered you to pursue the Magna Kai quest above all other duties. Oh, good. It ended with the words, Summerland has suffered a grievous defeat at Rannon, but the will of the people is undaunted and the strength of our army undiminished. Boldly, we will resist our enemies so long as there is hope of the rebirth of the Kai. If you want to help me get the Lawstone, send an entire army to the next Lawstone. I'm having to do this by myself. And don't send Lord Paido. I need an entire army. Or is it like a Frodo Baggins situation? Only like a lone wolf could really get behind the defenses. Yeah, but Frodo went with Samwise. He wouldn't have done it without Samwise. But we were given Lord Paido, and he screwed us up at every turn. Banadon informed you that the king had ordered that he and his skyship be placed under your command. He also delivered the news that the king had bestowed upon you the rank of War Marshal of the Royal Estates. Proudly, you accepted from Banadon 2 platinum badges, each crafted in the shape of a blazing sun, and affixed them to the collar of your Kai tunic. They signified that you were now a general of the Somlending army, the youngest general there had ever been. The honor bestowed upon you lifted your spirits, and the news that Banadon would be joining your quest helped greatly to allay your fear of the dangers that lay ahead. For 2 years, Banadon had lived in Tahu as journeymaster to his guild. His knowledge of the city and of the Tahu Cauldron, the entrance to the ancient metropolis, which lies buried deep beneath the city's streets, would be especially useful. On the eve of your journey to Tahu, the Elder Magi convened a meeting of the High Council. A golden torch was lit and placed in the center of the great cylindrical council chamber as a symbol of their hopes and prayers for your success. This torch shall burn so long as you, Lone Wolf, pursue your destiny along the path of the Magna Kai, said Lord Ramoa, speaker for the High Council. Before the gathering of elders, you reaffirmed your vow to restore the Kai, and, as if kindled by a sudden gust of wind, the torch flared brightly, bathing the chamber in its vivid golden glow. As one, the elders rose from their seats and intoned their blessing. May the gods Ishia and Kai protect you on your journey into darkness, Korskan. When have the gods ever helped me at all? So we've got weapon mastery, so we can take one more weapon. I don't know, just like spear or something. Alright, so we can take one more. Alright, it's got to be hunt mastery, because we need that +1 combat. So we get some money. You can take up to 5 of the following. What have we got already? We've got a bow and a broadsword. And a lantern. And we've got a quiver, but I could take more. I could take another quiver. But... yeah, okay, we'll take another one. 1... 2... Take the fire seeds, they're actually quite useful. 3... 4... We don't need meals, but... there's nothing else to take. Another lantern? You never know when you might lose one. But we've got this circle of fire now. And because we are a primate, these skills upgrade. So curing, we can slow poisons. Pump mastery, we can climb without need for ropes. Oh, I took a rope, but there's other uses for ropes. Alright. We're ready to go. Let's take a look at the map first. So we're going to Tahu. There's Tahu. So where is this in the world? Somewhere near Vasagonia, right? Oh, here. Tahu's here. And where are we starting? Oh, we're starting from Eldian, so we're like... here. We're taking the skyship. Well, at least it's more direct, no having to stop at inns and get... have the innkeepers attempt to assassinate us. Why couldn't they just give us the skyship for every one of these missions? I mean, the world is depending on us. Alright, I'll just get my coffee. Okay. A full moon lights the sky above Elzian on the evening you begin your journey to Tahu. Its ashen rays glimmer along the polished wooden outriggers that run the length of the hull of the Sky Rider and illuminate the crystal star ensign and the Somlending flag as it flutters proudly from the mizzen mast. The elders of the High Council have gathered on the roof of their council chamber, and as you and Banadon climb the boarding ladder to the skyship, you pause to return their farewell salute. This should be like the Final Fantasy like part of the game where you get the airship and now you can go everywhere in the world. We can turn to whichever book we want to do next. Whole world out there. That would be a cool way to do it. I mean, these books were published like one by one, so... The Elders... whatever. Bosun Nolrim, senior member of Banadon's crew of dwarves, welcomes you and his captain aboard. Surveying the craft, you notice that the Skyrider has changed very little since you were last aboard her, when you sailed the desert skies of Vasagonia in search of the Book of the Magnakai. The crew remember that voyage fondly and are justly proud for the part they played in the success of that perilous mission. Take the helm, Bosun, and set a course for Navasari, commands Banadon, as he leads you across the busy deck to his cabin at the prow. Oh, I gotta look this word up. Prow? Is that part of a ship? I've seen it multiple times now. Portion of a ship's bow above water. Okay. Swiftly the lights of Elzian vanish as the Skyrider speeds into the night. A mile below, the jungle of Desi and the barren peaks of the Zulun Mountains race past beneath the keel, but in the comforting warmth of Banadon's cabin you feel no sensation of movement. Only the hum of the powerful engine indicates how rapidly you are traveling. Over a delicious meal of salt beef and spiced fruit, Banadon explains the purpose of your journey to Navasari, a city that lies over 100 miles south of Tahu. Our enemies are advancing across Magnamont like a tidal wave, destroying or carrying with them all in their path, says the blonde-haired magician, pointing to a map of the continent that adorns the cabin wall. Every day a new battle is being fought, and every day we lose another town or village to the Dark Lords. Before we venture into Tahu, we must be sure that the city has not already fallen to Dark Lord Knark, lest we fly straight into a trap. I have many friends in Navasari, reliable friends, friends who are highly placed in the Senate of Anari. From them, we will learn if the city still stands, and if it does, how long we can expect it to resist a Dark Lord assault. Mid-morning of the following day, the lookout catches a glimpse of Navasari as the Skyrider emerges from the Yajo Pass. Banadon takes control of the helm and steers the craft towards the east quarter of the city, landing it on the spacious roof of a magnificent star-shaped building that overlooks the river Cha. A group of dignitaries, resplendent in high-necked robes of green and yellow silk, greet your arrival. These are some of the friends of whom Banadon spoke. Sadly, they recount the grim course of events that has recently befallen their country. In the far north, the town of Ressa was destroyed, and its people massacred by an army of Jaks. 2 days later, a similar attack was launched by a Vasagonian army against the town of Gila. They swept along the Anari Pass, burning and looting every village through which they rode, and giving no quarter to those who dared resist them. 3 days ago, on the western border, a fierce battle was fought at the Slovian town of Lovka, control of the bridge across the river Churdas. Shortly before midnight, the might of Dark Lord Knarg's horde fell upon the beleaguered garrison. They fought bravely, but by the dawn of the following day, all that remained of the town and its defenders were an acre of scorched earth and a cart full of charred bones. The 3 enemy armies are now advancing towards Tahu. President Poltuda, the head of state, has ordered the evacuation of all women and children from the capital and has begun strengthening the city's defenses to increase its chances of withstanding the impending siege. When Banadon tells of your intention to go to Tahu, one of his friends offers a few words of caution. It would be unwise to attempt a landing at the capital, he warns. Heavy bolt throwers have been positioned on every rooftop and tower in case the city is attacked from the air. Well, they must have a system for friendly ships to land. The Dark Lords captured Swentina in such a fashion, and the Tahuese have learnt from their neighbours' misfortune. Skyships rarely visit Tahu, which makes it all the more likely that your craft will be mistaken for a hostile attacker. I mean, there's got to be a system. Whatever. After long deliberation, you and Banadon decide to leave the Skyrider in Navasari and journey to Tahu by horse. Nolrim is left in charge of the craft and crew with instructions to wait here for your return. If Tahu is besieged, and he has not received word from you after 2 weeks, he is to return to Desi and report that your quest has failed. Alright. We've got 2 weeks. But, I mean, it doesn't matter if he goes to Desi and reports that our quest has failed, because we can still complete the quest. The quest, in theory, doesn't have a deadline. Right? Early next morning, you and Banadon climb into the saddles of 2 white Anarian steeds provided by his friends and set off on your 2-day ride to Tahu. Less than an hour after leaving Navasari, you see a long line of wagons approaching. They are escorted by a troop of cavalry, and each one is crowded with women and children. Fine, we'll question them. Just ask them how they're doing. The officer in charge of the mounted escort rides forward to meet you. He wears silvered Anarian mail and a winged helmet embossed with the crest of Tahu. "Hail, Captain," says Banadon upon seeing his crown-shaped badge of rank. The man narrows his eyes and regards you both with suspicion. He's about to reach for his sword when a woman shouts from the leading wagon. "Banadon? Banadon, is that you?" Your companion recognizes the woman and returns the wave. "Lorpa, by the stars, I had not expected to meet you here," he says in a surprised tone. The captain relaxes his guard and motions to the wagons to move on, anxious that his entourage is not delayed on the highway. "You can fall in with us or save your reunion till we reach Navasari," he says curtly, and rides on without waiting for a reply. "Lortha is the wife of Chiban, a famous Tahuese magician. He was my mentor when I lived and studied in the city," says Banadon. "If you wish, Banadon." Well, it's his choice. He seems to want to, so we'll let him. Banadon rides alongside the crowded wagon and talks with Lortha as the procession continues on its way to Navasari. After a few minutes' conversation, she hands him a scrap of parchment, and they bid each other farewell. "They are the last of the evacuees," he says, as you continue your ride north. They expect the enemy to reach Tahu in 2 days' time. They've already seen Jack scouts, and early this morning a squadron of Kran were sighted high in the western skies. Kran! She advises us to steer clear of a village called Sidara. I wonder how many deaths I've had to Kran. It's rumored to have already fallen to the enemy. She also gave me this. Banadon hands you the scrap of parchment. It contains a few lines of Anarian script, an address, and a signature. It's an invitation to stay at Chiban and Lortha's house in Tahu. It may be useful when we reach the city gate. Wait, there's a maximum number of special items? I've never hit it. I don't think we're anywhere close to it. For 3 hours, you ride without pause or rest along the Tahu Highway. On either side, the whispering grasses of the Inari Plain stir lazily in the thin breeze of morning. Villages are few, but wherever there are trees, you are sure to find a group of huts nearby. The highway descends along a ridge towards a copse of stunted trees where a circle of simple dwellings have been built around a well. At your approach, a bell is sounded and several peasants appear, each holding a basket of assorted wares which they urge you to buy. Sure, let's have a look. The villagers swarm around you like hungry locusts, pleading with you to buy their humble goods. Most of the baskets contain food with a greasy, off-putting smell, and small earthenware flasks full of boza, a pale yellow wine with a bouquet like sour milk. Those villagers that are too poor to offer any goods at all simply cup their hands and beg for money. Let's get a flask of boza, why not? Try the local drinks. We give the beggars money. Go on now. Drop the money you wish to give to the villagers. If you give them 3 gold crowns or more... 12 loon. Do we still have loon? No, we don't have loon. Sure, let's give them 3. Just drop it on the floor. The wretched beggars are overjoyed at your generosity and their grimy faces beam with delight, but how are they going to split 3 gold coins between them as they share out your coins? The old crone tugs at your sleeve. I mean, for a beggar, 3 gold is a lot. An old crone tugs at your sleeve and points with a crooked finger. Well, actually, let's think. They were offering... Well, they were probably overcharging us anyway. But they were offering, like, what, 2 meals for 1 gold coin? But they were probably overcharging us. I think a gold coin could probably buy you more than that. The old crone tugs at your sleeve and points with a crooked finger towards a small wooden hut set apart from the rest. She says it is the home of their shaman, the village holy man. She offers to take you to him to receive a blessing. Sure. With a bony fist, she raps loudly on the door of the hut. Inside, a croaky voice bids you enter, and she tugs at your sleeve impatiently, urging you into the foul-smelling hovel. Seated on a threadbare carpet, and surrounded by what appears to be heaps of chicken bones, is a scrawny old man dressed completely in feathers. He has a long, pointed nose and a stubbly grey beard, which grows to just below his beady, bloodshot eyes. The crone kneels and whispers in his ear, before bowing and leaving the hut. As the door swings shut, the shaman scoops up a handful of bones, closes his eyes, and, with a sound like a flock of startled gulls, casts them in the air. After a full minute of chanting and waving his hands, the old man opens his eyes and looks down on the bones which lie scattered on the beaten earth floor. He uses chicken bones to do his, his prophecies. You have many enemies, Northlander, he says, his hook-like fingers tracing patterns around the bones. Powerful enemies. They plot to prevent you from walking your chosen path, for that path will lead to their destruction. There is one who will tell you that he is a friend. You must not trust this one. There is treachery in his heart. Surely it's not Banadon. The old man closes his eyes and lowers his head, as if he has fallen suddenly into a deep trance. He said, like, future tense, so it's probably not Banadon. You try to awaken him, but he does not respond, and eventually you decide to take your leave. You feel unsettled by the encounter, but when you return to Banadon, you make light of the incident and suggest that you continue without further delay. Alright, useful advice. As the hour of noon approaches, the rutted highway of khaki-colored earth rises gently towards a flat-topped house near the horizon. Outside, at the entrance, is a three-legged stand erected over a fire made of Gorkha's dung. A battered tin pot full of soup hangs from the crotch of the stand, and a group of farmhands stand in line waiting for the muddy liquid to boil. The smell of the fire is awful, and it has to be blown on ceaselessly to prevent it from going out. Close to the house is a dirt track, which branches off the main highway and disappears to the west. The signpost is wood cracked and twisted, points along the track. It reads, Tahu, 95 miles. Talk to them? Sure, why not? Like most southern Anarian peasants, these farmhands are simple folk. They have heard nothing of the war in the north, and they know nothing about the Darkland armies that are poised to assault their capital. All they are able to tell you is that a great many wagons carrying takas, or rich city folk, have travelled the road to Navasari in the last 10 days. They would be happy to share their humble meal of corn soup with you, but the smell of their dung fire has destroyed your appetite, and you refuse their offer politely. I mean, dung fire can't be that bad. Banadon, who has been talking with the owner of the house, returns to his horse and nods at the signpost. It's pointing the wrong way. I had a feeling it was pointing the wrong way. Something about the description said it was like... I don't know. Something about this description made me think it was someone that moved it. Maybe on purpose to lead us into a trap. A few days ago, one of the Takas wagons ran into it and nobody has bothered to fix it yet. With a wave, the farmhands bid you farewell as you urge your horses back onto the highway. "5 miles along the highway, you reach another junction. I mean, surely we can tell, like, from the position of the sun, which direction we should be going in, surely. I mean, we're going to Tahu. We're at... Oh, I guess that comes under pathfinding, and that's one of the skills, isn't it? Alright. If I don't have it. Hidara, 5 miles. Let's have a look at the map. Where did we start? Are we coming from the northeast? I think we're coming along the Inari Pass, or... There's no Sidara. These maps are not big enough. Alright, we have to use the big map, don't we? So it should be near Tahu. There's Sidara. Is that not? It's not on this map. So... Wait, no, it should be. Wait, Sidara is in this location, but it's not on this map. What crappy map? Sidara is north of Navasari. That's Navasari. Sidara is here. They don't even have, like, the most basic, like, symbol or something. And it's literally a place on your map. Oh, well, okay, to be fair, somebody gave us this map. So they may not have been the best map maker. And they didn't have Google Maps back in those days. And even Google Maps gets things wrong. I've had to file corrections to Google Maps sometimes when I find roads that don't exist or buildings that don't exist. Okay, fine. I know where we are. Let's check out Sidara then. The track takes you to the outskirts of a small river village. It looks deserted, but as though the inhabitants have left in a hurry, taking nothing with them. A window shutter slams repeatedly in the distance, and you feel the chill of premonition as you ride along the empty cobbled street. As you approach the river wharf, you suddenly hear new sounds sounds that make you stop your horse dead in its tracks. You can hear the harsh voices of Jack's soldiers. Oh boy. Silently, you slip from the saddle and peer around the corner. In the middle of the street beyond, a company of Jack's scouts are sifting through items they have looted from the village. Two of the evil creatures are loading their booty onto the back of a cram, a large black-winged creature. Oh, I have dealt with many a cram in my time. While the others cram their ill-gotten gains in their pockets and packs, what they cannot carry they delight in despoiling, leaving behind a trail of filth and debris in the buildings they have ransacked. "Okader!" shouts their officer, brandishing a long black sword with a jagged edge. "Akamaza ek!" His greedy soldiers are reluctant to obey his commands, but a few blows with the flat of his blade quickly change their minds. Muttering and snarling, they scurry off into a side alley, reappearing a few minutes later astride large grey wolves. "Rekanera Gluz!" growls the officer, and the pack ride out of the village, heading north along the bank of the river Churdas. I watch all this? Can we not intervene? The Kran and its two riders take to the air, but the beast is so overburdened with loot that it cannot clear the rooftops. Frantically, it beats its leathery wings, hovering erratically just a few feet off the ground. The Jacks urge it on with kicks and punches, but to no avail. Suddenly it lurches forward, and the Jacks tumble headfirst onto the cobblestones a few feet from where you stand. "Orgadaka!" they cry as they catch sight of you and Banadon hiding at the corner. "Why are we hiding? We could take them on. Let's just do it." Use the bow. You draw an arrow and take aim at a Jack's chest. He opens his yellow-fanged mouth to shriek for mercy, but his cry is cut short as your feathered shaft pierces his heart. The other Jack rolls away from the body of his partner and scrambles to his feet, desperate to escape a similar fate. "Akiyamaz!" he whimpers hysterically as he scurries towards the shadows of an alley. Fire again. The Jack enters the shadows just as you are ready to fire your bow. Although you can no longer see your target, you're able to sense approximately where he is. Your arrow whistles into the dark alley, and seconds later you hear it shatter harmlessly against a wall. As the rapid footfalls of the Jack fade into the distance, you curse his escape, for you feel sure he recognized you. When he catches up with his unit and tells them what has happened here, they are likely to return with an entire army. Uh-oh. Hopefully he recognized me. From where? 6 years ago? Has he ever met me? Wisely, you decide to leave. You remount your horse and follow the track that leads out of the village. The track descends into a shallow valley, passes over a wooden bridge across a stagnant stream, and climbs towards the ridge of the hill. Passing over the crest, you come to a junction where the track joins a main highway. A whitewashed stone marker points to the left. Tahu, 90 miles. Okay. The afternoon passes swiftly as you ride across endless miles of treeless grassland. You stumble upon no village or hamlet and spend the hours listening to Banadon's account of recent events in Summerland and the Last Lands. 3 years have passed since you were last in the land of your birth, and you are hungry to hear all that has transpired since then. It is an hour past sunset, and night is drawing its black cloak around you when you hear a flickering red light on the road ahead. It is the village of Chadi. A great fire roars in the heart of Goyuk's tavern in Chadi, inviting the travel sore to stop and warm their weary bones. You decide to stay overnight, and as soon as you have stabled your horses, you enter the tavern to ask the price of a room. The tap room is surprisingly quiet. It is full of villagers and farmers, but they are a sullen crowd, content to sit in silence and brood over their glasses of lobka, a strong Slovian rye spirit named after the town where it was first distilled. Gayuk, the tavern owner, greets you with a nervous nod of his shiny bald head and shows you to a table. There are no bars or counters in Nenarian taverns. Instead, the customers sit at long banqueting tables and wait for the owner and his staff to serve them. He smiles uneasily as he answers your inquiry about a room. A single room with a bed would be 12 loon each. What, they use loon here as well? Alright, so it's 3 gold crowns. Sure, we can do it. It gives you each a key to your room and offers you both a glass of lobca on the house. Gratefully, you accept and down the warming liquor in one gulp. You notice that at the far end of your table, a man sits with his 2 young sons. They appear to be gambling with a group of plains farmers seated opposite, although you can see no money changing hands. 3... They're playing a game or something? Yeah, let's join them. The father and the farmers are taking it in turns to ask each other riddles. Oh, they love their riddles, don't they? In Inari, it is forbidden to gamble for money on games of chance, but the Wylianarians get around the law by devious means. They gamble on being able to answer riddles correctly, which demands exercising skill rather than chance, and they wager goods, and sometimes their services in place of money. By the time you join them, the father and his sons have amassed quite an assortment of valuable items, and the plains farmers are clearly anxious to win back some of their lost possessions. Yeah, let's do a riddle. It is the father's turn to ask a riddle, but firstly you must decide on your stake. You can choose to gamble either 1 special item or 3 backpack items. I can give away my pass. If you should fail to answer the riddle correctly, you will forfeit the item you have staked. If you answer the riddle correctly, you will win the chance to pick any 2 items from the father's hoard of valuables. A hush descends as you wait for the riddle patiently. The father, whose name is Khmar, draws his dagger from its scabbard and lays it on the table. Then he rests his hand on the shoulder of his eldest son and says, "This dagger is now half as old as my son Lowen was when the dagger was new. Lowen is now 15 years old. How old is the dagger?" Okay. So the dagger's age is now half of what? So let's say the dagger is X. So when the dagger was new, that was X years ago, and Lowen was 15 minus X years old. So this dagger is now half of 15 minus X. So the dagger is 30 minus 2x, so 3x equals 30, so x equals 10? 10. Wrong? I need to write this down, I can't do it in my head. Alright, so let's do this again. So the dagger is X years old right now. And X is the number we're trying to find. Lowen is 15 years old. So when the dagger was new, the dagger was 0 years old. That was 15 years. No. Yeah. When the dagger was new, that was X years ago. So Lowen was 15 minus X years old at that time. So this dagger is now half as old as 15 minus X. So X equals... yeah, half of 15 minus X. Ah, okay. So 2X equals 15 minus X. So 3X equals 15. There's 5. I doubled it by accident. There we go. You have answered the riddle correctly. And Kamar displays its collection of valuables from which you may choose your winnings. Scroll of Honor, Jaded Anklets. I don't know. Scroll of Honor. That sounds interesting. And gold dust. Like, if it's just dust, it's probably not much gold. What would you need gold dust for? You're not going to inhale it. Altar cloth, Jaden anklets. Let's take the Jaden anklets. No, only 2. Alright. Let's talk with the owner. Where's the tavern music? Gayak is a nervous and jittery sort of man. He is afflicted with all manners of tics and twitches and is given to worrying about everything and everything. See, this book is not as ridiculous as the last one. We're not dying at every corner within like 3 pages. Recently his condition has worsened, and in light of events in the north, it is not difficult to understand why. Oh, what's to become of us? Where will it all end? He mutters, wringing his pudgy hands and casting his eyes to the rafters. Every day for the last 2 weeks, wagons filled with women and children have been leaving Tahu for the south, yet the Senate tell us nothing is wrong, that we should go about our business and not concern ourselves with city affairs. Well, I, for one, am not fooled. I tell you, they're keeping us in the dark about what's really happening, and I'm not going to wait around to suffer the consequences. I'm closing up and moving out at the end of the week. And if you 2 gentlemen would take some friendly advice, you'd be wise to do the same. Someone in the tavern is calling for more love. Before you can question Gayak further, he snatches up a bottle and scurries away to serve his thirsty customer. Should we order some food? Do we have much money left? Yeah, go on. Well, didn't really do much. How much did that cost? 12 silver loon? Oh my god. Oh. Someone paid for us. A serving girl ushers you into an adjoining room where smoke from an open charcoal fire spirals up to the roof, filling the air with its pungent aroma. You seat yourselves at a round oak table, and the girl brings 2 plates loaded with broiled gorka steak and roasted parsnips. Oh, that sounds good. I haven't had parsnips. They don't have parsnips here in Asia. Well, they do, but they're imported and they're super expensive. 2 tankards of ale served to wash down the feast, which Banadon, in a generous mood, pays for with 12 silver loon. We could just make Banadon pay for everything. He's got money. Principalin? Oh, stop reading ahead. The room, which overlooks the courtyard and stables, is small, yet surprisingly clean and comfortable. You sleep well, but you are rudely awoken at dawn by the clang of a brass handbell. Gayuk's wife is walking around the courtyard ringing it for all she's worth. Daybreak, daybreak, all awake, she cries, her voice only slightly less piercing than her bell. It's annoying. If you want to sleep in. We don't have a job. Quickly, you wash and dress before gathering together your equipment and heading for the stables. Banadon is already there, having risen before dawn to prepare the horses. The sky is cloudless and the air is warm and still as you ride out of Chadi. Open grasslands stretch before you, broken occasionally by the low, whitewashed farm buildings and peasant dwellings. It is noon when you arrive at a mass of standing stones that line the highway approaches to the village of Thea. Banadon recalls a local legend that the Black Zakan of Vasagonia once came to wage war on the defenseless inhabitants of Thea who had no army. The besieged people offered up prayers to the goddess Ishir, who was sufficiently moved by their plight to cause the wicked Vasagonians to become petrified right where they stood, clad in full armor and grasping their weapons. It strikes you that the Theans may very soon have cause to pray for Ishir's help a second time. A mile beyond the village you see a cloud of dust on the highway. The dust cloud grows bigger and the rumble of hoofbeats can now be heard drifting towards you across the open plain. 20 lightly armored riders approach, their lances bearing blue pennants embroidered with the arms of Tahu, their faces stern and unsmiling beneath the peaks of their winged helmets. Their sergeant makes a signal, and the horsemen change formation, drawing up into a circle that quickly closes around you. "State your business here," bellows the sergeant. "Why do you ride to Tahu?" I mean, I'm allowed to. What? At first you are suspicious of their identities, but your basic Kai sixth sense confirms that these men are genuine Anarian rangers. Right, let's just show them the invitation. The burly sergeant snatches the parchment from your hand and studies it carefully. Without raising his head, he asks how two Northlanders came to possess a personal invitation to one of Tahu's most respected households. "Because I was invited. That's how an invitation works." When Banadon explains your meeting with Lortha and how he was once a student of Chiban, her husband, why do we have to explain all this stuff? The sergeant somewhat reluctantly accepts your story and returns the invitation. "Stay on the highway and make sure you reach Tahu by sunset," he says as he signals his troop to let you pass. "Enemy scouts have been sighted in the hills south of the capital. If you're not inside the city walls by nightfall," he draws his finger quickly across his throat. Finger to the throat means death. You thank him for his advice and watch as he and his troop wheel away and ride south. You pocket the invitation and glance apprehensively at Banadon before pressing on with your own journey north. It is late afternoon when you see the Tahu Hills. They appear like a mirage on the horizon, shimmering beyond the haze that rises from the sun-baked plain. Without stopping for food or rest, you hurry across the hot grasslands and follow the highway as it descends towards the mouth of a pass. A stone watchtower guards the entrance to the hills, and a cluster of whitewashed huts lie huddled around its base. Tutelary, come on, we're not going to have that. Your suspicions are aroused as you ride towards the watchtower. No flag flutters from its battlements, and no guards appear to challenge your approach. You pass along a roadway littered with clothes and belongings, and the settlement looks deserted. It is as if the inhabitants have left in a great hurry. You're about to spur your horse to a canter when your Kai instincts warn you that danger lies ahead. Like demons from a nightmare, a host of snarling jack wolf riders burst into view, streaming out from their shadowy hiding places behind the empty huts. They thunder towards you on every side, shrieking and thrusting their spears at the darkening sky. Sure, let's use the bow. You notch an arrow and let fly at a rider closing in on your left. The shaft pierces one of its eyes and lifts the loathsome creature out of its wolf saddle, spinning him into the path of the following doom wolves. His body brings down two of the ravening beasts and their riders, who are slammed into the ground as their mounts crash together in a tangled heap. Your bow skills brought you precious seconds in which to escape from the settlement. Banadon gallops past, his loose robe streaming out behind him like a pair of blue wings. You dig in your heels and urge your horse after him, with the shrill clangor of jack war cries ringing ever louder in your ears. The wolf riders give chase, but their pursuit is half-hearted, and you have covered less than a mile when you hear the jacks call off their hunt. They console themselves by hurling threats and vile curses at your backs as you disappear swiftly into the dust. The highway emerges from the hills at a village called Varta, situated on the edge of the Tahu Flats. The flats consist of fields of cultivated crops, forming a fertile market garden 2 miles wide, which is farmed right up to the banks of the great moat that encircles the capital. Varta is deserted, its male inhabitants now shelter within the city walls, whilst the women and children have travelled south to the safety of Navasari. As you leave the empty town and descend onto the flats, you catch your first awe-inspiring glimpse of the ancient city. Tahu, an ancient stronghold containing a vast city, is a formidable and wondrous sight in the moonlight. The imposing walls and towers of red stone and grey rock assume the softening sheen of velvet, and the city is often referred to as the Velvet Fortress. Beyond the towers and high curtain wall, you can see 1,000 spires and minarets grouped as thickly as the trees of a forest. Tiny lights twinkle in countless windows and portals, adding to the splendor of the mighty capital. Near to the city's south gate, the highway is flanked by beacons which illuminate those who approach the gatehouse. A drawbridge spans a moat of black water, and as you ride across, a bell tolls from the portcullis archway ahead. 2 civilian riders at the south gate, yells a soldierly voice. Raise the postern, shouts another. There is a clatter of chains and a scraping of stone. You watch the portcullis, expecting it to rise, but it does not move. Instead, a narrow portal appears at the base of the wall, and an armored guard steps from the shadows. He motions you to enter, and you follow Banadon along a corridor of stone, leading to a secure enclosure. You glance upwards to see the faces of a dozen soldiers, peering down at you from behind a parapet that encircles the high enclosure walls. All of them grasp loaded crossbows, which they train on you as you move. Then a small gates creaks open, and 2 guards appear, armed with broad-bladed spears. Who are you? One demands in a gruff tone. Why do you seek entry to Tahu? Sure, let's show them the invitation. Guards inspect the invitation, their expressions conveying their doubt that the signature it bears is genuine. They order you to dismount, and one of them hurries off to summon the gatehouse commander. Fortunately, when he arrives, he recognizes Lortha's mark and allows you to leave the enclosure, although he impounds both your horses. You protest and demand that they be returned, but to no avail. Orders of the Senate, says the commander offhandedly, an emergency decree. All horses belonging to the civil population must be delivered into the care of the garrison stables until the state of emergency is lifted. Fine, whatever. Reluctantly, you allow the guards to take your steeds, and as they are being led away, the commander hands you each a piece of vellum stamped with a date and a number. Receipts, he explains, his tone noticeably more friendly. You pocket your receipt. And are about to walk away when he calls out, report to the citadel first thing in the morning. You will be allocated your battle positions for when the enemy attack. Yeah, whatever. Leaving your horses and Southgate Tower behind, you enter a wide avenue flanked by workshops and houses, all built of red stone or rock sheathed in red plaster. The buildings themselves are small and densely packed, yet each one, no matter how humble, has a spire or tower that soars into the sky. The large, sleepy-eyed heads of stone dragons gaze down from the balconies of minarets, crowned, either with bulbous, onion-shaped domes of copper or with platforms housing engines of war recently installed. Banadon points to an eating house and suggests that you stop there for some refreshment. Cuban's house is more than an hour's walk from here, and you're ravenous after your long ride. Sure. The eating house is crowded with soldiers. They sit at benches drawn up to long oak tables or sprawl around a log fire that crackles in a broad stone grate. Your entrance causes them to pause in their noisy conversations as they look you up and down. However, their curiosity is soon satisfied and they return to their feasting and boasting. This way, gentlemen, beckons the owner and leads you through the crowd to a table in the corner of the high-ceilinged room. Banadon hands him a clutch of silver loon, and the jolly red-cheeked man waddles away to fetch you food and ale. The soldiers are dressed in a variety of uniforms, many of which you recognize to be the tunics of mercenary regiments from the Stormlands. 2 of these soldiers of fortune share your table. They talk in hushed tones and cast nervous glances at another group of men sitting near the fire. Sure, let's talk. The men are plainly displeased that you have interrupted their conversation. One of them, a sallow-faced knave with dark eyes and curly black hair, snatches a jug from the table and takes a long swig. He slams it and turns to his friend. Did you know, he says, red wine squirting through his rotted teeth, my brother Gain was killed in Ragadorn last year? He was stabbed in the back by a lousy Northlander. Slowly he turns his head and stares coldly into your eyes. I hate Northlanders. They're all cowardly, backstabbing scum. You notice his hand leave the jug and slip below the table. Fuck's sake. Northland is a whole continent. Is he gonna assume I'm the one that killed his brother? Save your sympathy, he sneers, because you're about to meet him face to face. Suddenly he lunges forward, a curved dagger gleaming in his hand. He flicks his wrist and his razor-sharp blade whips through an arc towards your throat. Here we go. It's a pretty safe bet. I guess. Your Kai mastery alerts you to the attack, and you resist it with breathtaking speed. In one swift movement, you unsheath your weapon. Hang on, we've got to put the music for fighting humans. You unsheath your weapon and lash out at your attacker, sheathing off his arm at the elbow. What if I didn't have a weapon? I just shear off his arm with my hand? With my fist? That's impressive. Arm and dagger fall to the table and the soldier collapses screaming to the floor. Shocked by what he has seen, his comrade kicks back his bench and retreats from the table. However, the drunken crowd goad him to retaliate and their gibes sting him into action. He pulls his blade free of his scabbard and leaps forward to attack. Alright. Should be easy enough. What are we using? Broadsword. As you step over the dead bodies and head towards the exit, the door crashes open and in rushes a squad of guards from the south gatehouse. Summoned by the owner of the hall, they are all armed with crossbows, which they aim at your chest. "Yield, Northlanders," orders their captain. "You have no hope except our mercy." You cast your eyes around the hall for another exit, but all are barred. Reluctantly, you both raise your hands and are taken back to the south gatehouse tower. Banadon, because he's a magician, is taken to another part of the city wall to be questioned, while you are imprisoned in a cell higher in the tower itself. He started it! We got nothing. Oh, we kept our fire seeds. Interesting. That's gotta be a bug. We're going to assume we stuck the fire seeds up our bum or something, so if there's an opportunity to use the fire seeds, maybe I'll use them. Don't let them explode. Ah, that would be cheating. We're not going to use the fire seeds. Oh, at least we keep our gold, I suppose. The iron door slams shut, and you are left alone to contemplate your unfortunate arrival in Tahu. The cell is narrow and damp, with patches of mold that discolor the red stone walls. The uneven floor is strewn with filthy, moldy straw, and the stale air is heavy with the stench of rotting food and sewage. The solitary window is crisscrossed with bronze bars, green with age, and below it, 1,000 scratches record the passing days of another visitor that fell foul of the gatehouse guard. Anxiously, you cast your eyes around this filthy prison, searching for a chink in his armor that could lead to escape. Should now eat a meal. Well, we probably had our meals confiscated. Don't have any of these skills. You pace the cell like a caged lion, cursing your predicament and trying to think of a way to escape. After an hour, you resign yourself to your fate and settle down on your haunches to sleep. The prod of a spear haft wakes you from your slumber. "On your feet," snarls the brutish sergeant at arms, standing over you with his spear poised to strike again. Two soldiers grab you roughly by the collar and shove you through the open cell door into the arms of an escort that has come to take you before the chief magistrate. Oh boy, a courthouse scene. Your hands and feet are shackled with chains, and you are bundled into a covered wagon, waiting beside the south gate. Is it going to be like the one in Chrono Trigger, where they show us flashbacks of all the times we did bad things around the towns? That's not going to go down well. It moves off at breakneck speed, and by the time it reaches its destination, you are covered in bruises. The courthouse of the chief magistrate is a grim, grey building. Devoid of any decorational embellishment, its stark bare walls serve to remind the Tahuis of its sober purpose. It is a place where justice is meted out to wrongdoers. Meted? It's not a word I'm familiar with. Meet, dispense, or allot justice. Okay. Harsh punishments are imposed. Floggings and executions take place here every day of the week. All trials are conducted before a magistrate, and his decision is final as there are no juries in Tahu. The chief magistrate presides over crimes that are serious enough to warrant the death penalty, and your heart sinks when you learn that he is to sit in judgment of you. I mean, it's not necessarily a bad thing. Like, the chief magistrate could be fairer than a jury. Like, what if the jury is comprised of these people like those soldiers who hate Northlanders? It would probably be worse. I don't know. You put up quite a struggle, but your shackles prevent you from breaking free of your armed escort. They drag you into the courtroom and throw you face down into an iron cage that stands before the chief magistrate's chair. A bell is struck to signal the arrival of the chief magistrate, and he enters the court, surrounded by an entourage of scribes. The bell rings once more, and the scribes say with one voice, "This hearing is now in session. If you have ever visited the city of Beretta or hut on the Run on Pike in a previous Lone Wolf adventure..." Well, what do they mean? I assume they mean "and survived." But that's so long ago, like, you're not really going to survive all that time. I mean, we have, but it hasn't recorded that. But it depends how you use this thing. Like, if you restart a book from scratch, then you won't have that recorded. Alright, we'll assume you have to have survived. Arrogantly, the Sergeant-at-Arms presents the case against you, but Chief Magistrate Gwinian is unimpressed with his account of your crimes. "Do you not know who it is that you have brought before this court?" he asks. The sergeant looks puzzled, and a thin film of sweat breaks out on his reddening face as his confidence begins to crumble. After a long and embarrassing silence, he replies, "No, sir. This is Lone Wolf, the last Kai Master of Summerland. Have you not heard of this man?" "Yes, sir," he replies hoarsely, scarcely able to believe what he is hearing. "I order his possessions to be restored to him forthwith, and all charges against him to be dropped." The bell is rung to signify the end of the hearing, and the courtroom is cleared. Well, that was easy. We didn't even have to testify or anything. See, if it was a jury, we would have been screwed. We've got everything. Nice. Right. The Elder Magi sent word of your coming, Lone Wolf, says Quinian. They knew of my appointment, and we get to cut someone's arm off. Yay! They knew of my appointment to the city judiciary when I came to live here 2 years ago. My home, the halls of learning in Veretta, was destroyed by a fire set by agents of the Dark Lords. Like yourself, I am a sole survivor, the last of my order. The elders asked me to afford you what protection I could, and to help you in your quest for the Law Stone of Tahu. They knew I was going to end up in jail at some point. That's why they appointed him. He leads you to a table, the surface of which is engraved with a huge map of the city. With a rod of glass, he points to the location of the Tahu Cauldron. It is in the Square of the Dragons in the west district of the city. The cauldron is a funnel-shaped hollow with a circular shaft at its base. The shaft descends to the ruins of the ancient city of Zarix, 500 feet below Tahu. Legend tells us that the Law Stone was thrown into the cauldron to prevent the Black Zachan of Vasagonia from capturing it during the Great Cauldron War. The shaft was closed off and has remained sealed for the last 360 years. You ask Gwinion if he can order the release of your companion. It has already been done, he replies. I released Banadon into the custody of his former mentor, Chiban the Magician, 3 hours ago. He is with him now at his house on Leech Street. He is quite safe, but you must not delay your quest any further by going there yourself. At dawn, the enemy will be at the gates of the city and the battle for Tahu will have begun. There is only one man that can help now. But there is only one person that can grant you access to the shaft of the cauldron that descends to Zarix. That man is President Toltuda of Anari. This place has a president? Come, I will arrange an audience with him immediately. President? Really? Gwinion dispatches a messenger to the Anarium, the House of the Senate, where members of the governing council have gathered for an emergency assembly called by the president himself. Within the hour, the messenger returns with a furled parchment bearing the presidential seal. He's agreed to hear your plea, Lone Wolf, says Gwinion, his eyes scanning the official reply. This news raises your flagging spirits, but the sage seems a little disappointed. I was hoping for a private audience with the president, he says. But in view of the current crisis, I suppose it is the best we can expect. You must appear before the Senate this evening and state your reasons for wishing to enter the Tahu Cauldron. They will consider your request and vote accordingly. Their decision will be final. And if they say no, I'm going to have to sneak in anyway, I guess. He hands you the scroll and arranges for his personal carriage to take you to the Anarium. As you climb aboard and sink into the plush upholstered seat, you exchange a farewell wave with Gwinion the Sage. May the gods watch over you, he says, and may you live to fulfill your destiny. The great flagstone precinct at the entrance to the Anarium is packed with hundreds of people. Senate officials, soldiers, and citizens crowd the steps that give access to the grand foyer and outer chambers of the hall. You notice that a side entrance is being used exclusively by armed army scouts who arrive with dispatches and leave with orders for the lookouts hidden in the surrounding hills. You take a calculated gamble and order the carriage driver to draw up at the side entrance. This bold move pays off. Upon seeing your presidential scroll, not only do the guards allow you into the Anarium, but you are escorted to the appellant's gallery inside the assembly hall itself. From your seat in the gallery, you stare down at an oval hall, ringed by 12 arches beneath which the senators of Anari sit upon their throne-like chairs of lacquered oak. President Toltuda occupies a seat in the center of the hall and presides over a heated discussion that is raging back and forth. Having heard all sides of the argument, he calls for a vote, and the issue is decided by a show of hands. We now come to a quite extraordinary matter, which has been raised by one of our most eminent citizens, says President Toltuda, introducing your appeal to the Senate. He turns to the gallery and calls out, Psalm lending Lord, Lone Wolf, please make yourself known to the assembly. You rise from your seat and bow to the senators. Please present your request to us, Lone Wolf, says the president, and a hush descends on the hall as you explain the purpose of your journey to Tahu. When you have finished, the president calls upon the senators to speak. I say we should help the psalm lending pipes the shrill voice of Senator Zilaris. If he finds the Law Stone, his power could turn the tide and save Tahu from the clutches of the Dark Lord Nag. A murmur of agreement stirs in the hall. And I say we should refuse to open the cauldron, booms the powerful voice of Senator Chill. I say that if it were not for his presence in our city, we would be spared the attention of the Dark Lords. He is the object of their anger and spite. I say we should give him to them. I only arrived today. They were already attacking before I arrived. And in doing so, we will save our city, our country, our people, and ourselves. That's not how it works. The army's already approaching. You think they're just going to turn around? Because... Oh, they want to hand me over to the Dark Lord? Seriously? You really think they're just going to cancel their attack on the city after you hand me over? After they've wiped out Ranon and all those other cities nearby for no real reason? A surge of support echoes from the archers, and your skin prickles at the thought of what could happen. President Holtuda calls for a vote to decide whether the Senate should allow you to enter the Cauldron or use you to bargain for peace with the Dark Lords. Really? Tensely, you await the result. The votes are cast and counted, and the Senate is split evenly. 6 votes for you and 6 votes against. The decision now rests with the President himself. It should be a clear majority. He must cast the deciding vote. Oh no. It's a random pick. It's exactly 50-50. Fuck. A bronze beacon, the Anarian symbol of law and order, is fixed into a plinth of marble that stands beside the president's chair. He moves his finger to a button on the arm of the chair, and all eyes turn to stare at the beacon. There is a flash of ignition, and a jet of red flame roars upwards towards the domed ceiling. "Seize him!" shouts Senator Chill. "Seize Lone Wolf!" Democracy doesn't work. The president has voted against you, and now the Senate guards are closing in on all sides to arrest you. In a single bound, you leave your seat and sprint along the gallery towards an empty staircase. To your right, a guard is rushing to intercept your escape. He is unarmed, but he has a net with which he hopes to ensnare you. He casts it as you are about to descend the stairs. Oh, we got a good chance here because we got both these things. You flatten yourself against the floor, and the net passes harmlessly over your head. Before the guard can react, you are back on your feet and running headlong down the stairs. You'd have thought they'd secure the room a bit better. 3 soldiers await you at the bottom of the staircase. They clutch wooden staves in their sweaty hands, ready to beat you senseless the moment you appear. "Get him!" they shout and run forward, clumsy and flat-footed compared with your cat-like strides. Before they can land a blow, you leap among them, striking left and right too quickly for their eyes to follow. They scream and clutch at their wounds as you make your getaway unharmed. You run from the staircase as quickly as you can and follow a corridor that heads towards the front of the anarium. In the distance, you can see an entrance hall teeming with people, and 2 soldiers, both armed with halberds, standing on guard with their backs towards you. To your left, there is a window, and you look through to see your carriage parked close to the side of the building. But how high is it? We're not just going to fall to our death, are we? Well, the window seems most promising. The window is bolted shut. If you are determined to escape this way, you will have to take the risk of jumping through a pane of thick glass. I mean, it will probably hurt me, but I can take it. 1 damage. You raise your hood and wrap yourself in your kai cloak to minimize the risk of being cut by broken glass. Leaping feet first, you escape through the window with only a few minor scratches. But the glass shatters with such a terrific crash that it alerts the soldiers on guard at the side door. They surround the carriage and arrest the driver, forcing you to abandon your hopes of escaping that way. So we didn't jump out? No, we jumped out, but we didn't get into the carriage. Using the cover afforded by the crowds, you escape across the precinct that surrounds the Senate House and enter a labyrinth of passages that disappear into a neighborhood known as the Parish of Thieves. However, your escape has not gone completely unnoticed. From a tower of the Anarium, the captain of the Senate Guard has been watching your getaway through his telescope, and he has dispatched a troop of his best men to track you down. On the corner of a dark alley, you hear the sound of drunken laughter floating up from the battered door of an ale cellar. You turn away, but the sudden tramp of booted feet echoing along the passage behind makes you change your mind. Quickly, you descend the steps and take shelter in this lowly tavern. The cellar is full of rough-faced villains laughing and bragging about their illegal exploits as they swill their sour ale. You cross the crowded floor and sit at the end of a table, as far away from the door as possible. A thin, wiry fellow with curly black hair approaches you with a tankard of foaming ale in one hand. You have taken his seat and he is determined to get it back. Fine, have it back. Find somewhere else to sit, stranger. That place is mine, he demands, grasping the hilt of his dagger with his free hand. You sense movement outside in the street and you glance nervously at the cellar door. Get up, growls the man impatiently. Fine, you can have your chair, I don't care, drawing his dagger slowly from its sheath. If you dare cross so of Swentina, you'll not live long enough to regret it. Okay. At that instant, the door bursts open and in rush 6 heavily armed Senate House guards. Thinking that the ale cellar is being raided, something of a routine event here at the Purple Purse, the shady patrons drop their drinks and flee towards the open door in an attempt to escape arrest. So, the thief who threatened you heads towards a shadowy arch. You run after him and grab him by the arm. Get me out of here, you plead. You can name your price. The wily thief smiles at the thought of making some easy money and holds out his hand. Give me your money pouch and I'll save your skin. How much? Only 14. Right, fine. Amid chaos and confusion, you leave the ale cellar through a concealed door in the wall of the arch. It opens onto a sloping passage that descends to a tunnel lit by oil-soaked torches fixed at random along the tiled walls. A foul smell assails your nostrils, the unmistakable stench of an underground sewer. You follow... oh yeah, we're in the sewer level again. You follow So across a narrow ledge that runs parallel to a sluggish sewage channel, taking care not to slip on the slimy crusted tiles. After a few minutes, he halts beneath one of the sputtering torches and presses its rusty iron bracket. There is a grating rumble and a section of the tunnel wall opens to reveal an amazing sight. Before you lies a huge chamber. Its walls are hung with silk and fine tapestries, and its sunken floor is piled high with glittering treasures. As you enter, a perfumed breeze ruffles your hair, and the sound of songbirds fills your ears. So leads you past a bubbling pool of crystal clear water into an antechamber. Here, lying on a couch of vivid scarlet, rests the ruler of this sanctuary, dressed in an extravagant costume of many colors. And his extravagant costume of many colors, it was red and yellow and pink and green. His large squarish face is framed by a hood trimmed with a strange purple fur. He stirs from his slumber and opens his cold black eyes. So, who is this man? He shouts angrily. Why have you brought him here? The thief tries to offer an explanation, but it only serves to anger him even more. So, you sniveling fool, he bellows. You know it is forbidden to bring outsiders into the secret enclaves of the guild. I should have flogged you for your stupidity. For all we know, this Northlander could be a spy, or even... He pauses, staring up at you fearfully. An assassin! He snatches a gem from his pocket and holds it in the air. Aldul Dana Liuk, he breathes, and a vivid green flame engulfs the sparkling jewel. We do have size green. This could be useful, actually. Pulses of psychic energy leap from the gem, washing over you in waves that leave you shaking and breathless. Your sight screen protects your nervous system, but you are unable to stop the pulses from penetrating deep into your mind. The man commands you to reveal the real reason you are here. I mean, we could just tell him we escaped from the Senate and want to hide from the guards. Steadily, he increases the force of his mind gem until you can no longer resist. Some sight screen we have. It's supposed to protect us against these sorts of things. The man smiles smugly as you recount everything about yourself, your quest for the Lawstone, and your ordeal at the Senate House. When finally you reach the end of your account, he gives vent to a long, sardonic laugh. I, Mahana, the Guildmaster of Thieves, in all the years I have dwelt beneath the Velvet Fortress, I have dispatched many men to the Tahu Cauldron to seek out ancient treasures, though few have gone willingly, and fewer still have returned alive. Know you this, Somlending. The Cauldron is but one way to enter the main shaft to Zarix. There are other routes, other shafts, and all of them are known to me. I will show you one such shaft, but you must do something in return. Is it agreed? Cautiously, you ask his terms. My son, Ibeck, entered the shaft 3 moons ago, drawn by the stories of Dragon Gold. He has not returned. All I ask is that if you find his body, you bring me the ring he wears upon his right hand. Without hesitation, you agree to these terms, for they seem most reasonable. And if I don't find his body, is it okay if I don't bring the ring? He smiles, but this time his eyes glow with a strange intensity, as if he were a man on the brink of madness. Do not fail me, he says softly, holding aloft the sparkling mind gem. I shall know if you lie. Well, okay. Morgana leads you to another room, one of several that lead from his sumptuous chamber, and approaches a dais standing near the door. He passes his hand over a crystal set into its surface, and at once a section of the wall moves inwards, exposing darkness beyond. An icy damp wind fills the room, carrying with it a cloying smell of decay. Elsewhere in the chamber are tables laden with equipment, placed here no doubt for those who dare venture beyond the windswept portal. Take what you need, says Morgana, his voice barely audible above the howl of the wind. Then go. He ushers Sok from the chamber and locks the door behind him. Alright. Water is useful. Take the water. We're full of backpack items, okay. Well, we've got 2 lanterns here, so we'll get rid of 1. We've got these, which I don't know what we can use them for. I'll definitely take the arrows. Water. We don't need the torch if we've got a lantern, although it could still have a use. Rope? We've got a rope. A blanket? Pick the blanket instead of this potion. Your pulse quickens as you look into the black abyss beyond the portal. You could make out no walls or roof, and the hollow wind that whistles in the darkness make it easy to imagine that you are staring into a limitless void. There is a rope ladder fixed to the threshold of the portal. It descends into darkness below. Well, they said to descend it, so we'll just descend it, I guess. The descent is slow and arduous and fraught with hazards. The wind becomes stronger and colder the further you go, numbing your fingers and sapping your strength. A sudden gust swings you into an outcrop of black rock, invisible in the gloom, and the impact forces you to lose your grip. Really? We're protected with this, I think. Desperately, you throw out your hands and manage to regain your grip off the rung. The impact has left you shaken and bruised, but at least you are still alive. With renewed caution, you steady yourself against the jagged outcrop before continuing your descent. When you reach the bottom rung, you're horrified to discover that the ladder stops short of solid ground. Really? Well, they should have prepared a proper ladder. There's nothing but darkness below. You peer into the gloom, but it is impossible to see how much further you have to descend. To your left, you can see the faint outline of a ledge, but it is over 20 yards away. We have a rope. You tie one end of the rope to the bottom rung and drop the rest into the darkness. Seconds later, you hear it strike stone, and you realize that you will not have too far to descend. As you climb down the rope, you pass through a layer of mist that glows with curious blue-green luminescence. 20 feet below the mist, your feet touch firm ground. Close to where you land lie the skeletal remains of a human body. Could this be the sun? Like, he didn't even make it further than the ladder? That would be embarrassing. It is! Oh no, it's not. The mouldering bones are encased in the tattered remains of a blue leather tunic and breeches. Both thigh bones are shattered, and the skull and spine are cracked in several places, suggesting that this unfortunate man fell to his death from a great height. You can find no weapons, and the backpack and haversack that are strapped to his body are both unbuckled and empty, as if they had been looted. You check the corpse's right hand, but there are no rings on any of the bony fingers. This is not Morgana's son. Unless the ring was stolen as well. The rigid walls of the stone chamber narrow to a point where the mouth of a tunnel disappears steeply into the solid black rock. You enter the tunnel, taking care to control your descent as you slide towards a dim, flickering light that marks the end of the shaft. Halfway along the shaft, you hear a rumble like the sound of a distant earthquake. Then cracks appear in the roof, and a deluge of dust and rubble pours down, choking and blinding you as it clogs your throat and eyes. The deluge engulfs you so quickly that it is impossible to avoid inhaling the fire and grit. As you do so, a terrible pain stabs at your chest. The dust contains the spores of a deadly fungus that is now poisoning your lungs. Oh no. The circular walls shake violently, and you slip and tumble headlong down the shaft, landing with a jolt on a slab of flat, spongy rock at the edge of a huge subterranean lake. There's a tremendous roar as the ceiling of the tunnel collapses and tons of rock crash down to seal the shaft. Your spirits sink as you contemplate your fate. For the only way you know of escaping from this gigantic underground grotto has now been sealed off. However, you are not completely without hope, for your senses detect a powerful presence. It is a feeling you have known before when you have been close to discovering a lore stone, but never has the sensation been as strong as it is here in this dark subterranean world. As your eyes become accustomed to the half-light, you look across the lake to see tiers of grey stone rising out of the water. They are the steps of a gigantic staircase which ascends to an arch of rock veined with glittering minerals. You skirt the edge of the lake and arrive at the foot of these steps to discover a cave-like hollow chiseled from the stone. You are exhausted. Blah blah blah. Rather than attempt to go on, you climb into the empty hollow and settle down to sleep. You are woken by the stench of decay. A grey-skinned being, squatting on its haunches, stares down at you with grim, inhuman eyes. Drool trickles from its ragged lips, and the rusty sword it holds in its twisted, man-like hand is lifted to kill. Summer sword. As if anyone would still have it by this point. Alright, we've got 21 health, that's alright. Should be okay. Nice. Your killing blow knocks the ghoul out of the hollow, sending it tumbling into the lake. More of the corpse-like creatures can be seen creeping along the shore, and the sound of their snuffling whispers and curse makes your blood run cold. They move with unnatural speed, eager to feast on your flesh. Let's use the bow. You draw an arrow and let fire at the leading creature. The shaft finds its grisly heart and the creature drops to the ground, its spindly arms thrashing fitfully. The others halt in their tracks and look down at their slain companion. You see a flicker of fear pass across their black, lifeless eyes. Let's climb the stairs. As you step from the hollow, a weight drops onto your back and drags you to your knees. Long, sharp fingers, as hard as steel, clamp around your throat, and the sound of gnashing fangs fills your ears. You twist and roll, hoping to break from the creature's grip, but its hold is unnaturally strong. Should still be okay. No sooner have you managed to prise the dead ghoul's hands from around your throat than his brethren reach the hollow. I should have used a potion just then. Your skin crawls at the touch of their slick, clammy flesh, but you struggle against your rising nausea and counter their attack. Oof, this is a bit... Do we have anything? No, we don't have a combat potion. I mean, okay, good start. Ooh. Ooh. 3, come on, just... Fuck! 1 health, we were on 1 HP. Man, we went on for a long time that time. 1.5 hours. Those weren't particularly difficult combats. Summer Sword is so useful, but you can't keep it for long. Alright. We got pretty far. I think I want to stop there. It was a good attempt. So if we start again... Yep. Oh, it's this bug again. We have to restart. We have to restart the book properly. Alright, what have we got? 4 and 0. You kind of need combat for those sections, but there's probably ways around them. Alright, well that's not great. But we'll still go with combat-oriented skills. So we can take bow, sword. You should always take bow, because there's so many opportunities for bow. Did any weapons pop up during that? I think I saw a spear. Let's take spear. Curing. We'll go with Hump Mastery. Hump Mastery is actually good for combat, because a lot of surprise attacks and ambushes, it protects you against them. Alright, we'll take sword, bow, quiver, fire seed, and lantern. And I will stop there. So combat skill's okay, but we're not really going to be able to survive those 3 fights in a row unless we get some sort of edge. The president's vote was 50-50. So if he had voted to assist us, we probably would have entered by the Cauldron, which is a different entrance, so it would have been a whole different path, probably. Okay, then. I wonder when we'll visit the Darklands. This is like the enemy's territory. Helgadad. That is the seat of the Dark Lord himself. One day could be the final book. I like just randomly looking around this map. It's this is a bigger map than you get in most video games. Unless it's like Daggerfall or something. Alright, well anyway, we are almost a third of the way through the game, through the series. I'm gonna have to put this whole thing on hold in December, or I'll never have time to do the Advent of Code. Oh, make sure I save it. Just have a look at the books again. So Magna Chi, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So it looks like it's going to be 1 Lore Stone per book, and then we'll have the 7 Lore Stones and become Grandmaster. And then after that, we've got New Order. I wonder, will we be a different character? No, I think you're the same character. We are quite limited. So in Kai, we could choose, what, 5 disciplines? In this series, Magna Chi, we can only choose 3, and that's quite limiting. Because there's like 2 obvious ones to pick, usually. Weapon skill and curing. Like, curing, you've got to take curing. Like, there's not many opportunities during the book to heal. Like, maybe you rest at an inn and you heal like 5 or something, but they're not that common, so you need curing. Healing 1 HP per page is insanely important. So curing is like no negotiations, you always take curing. And then weapon skill is kind of important, because if you don't have weapon skill, you're throwing away 3 combat skill. So generally you would take those 2. And then, so really, you're only really choosing 1 more. And amongst the rest, I guess it's somewhat uniform, and like they're all pretty good. But like in the Kai series, the hunting one was not very good, because the main purpose of it was to avoid needing food. But starving is not a big deal in the game. All that happens is you lose 3 HP. That that page, and then you'll recover it in 3 pages time anyway, because if you've got curing. So hunting wasn't that good, but hunting is proving to be very useful now, because it has an additional property which boosts your skill, or more accurately, removes penalties when you're ambushed, which happens a lot. When you're ambushed or surprised. I mean, it can even avoid insta-death scenarios where you're just struck by a bow or something, struck by an arrow. So yeah, hunting is a pretty good, or general purpose one. In the first series, in the Kai series, I always took Sixth Sense because that was so good. The upgraded version, Divination, is not proving to be as useful in this series. It feels like it doesn't show up as much. We don't have many situations where we can use our Sixth Sense to detect something that's happening or something. But so I've not really been finding much use for Divination as with the previous series, but whatever. Alright. See you next time, Lone Wolf.